Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Onyx Tavern. This is your host, the Barkeep, bringing episode 22 over here at the tavern, presented by HeroTaku.com. And tonight, I am once again joined by Raptor here. How you doing, Raptor?
I'm doing great tonight, Barkeep. How you doing?
I'm doing good. And I'm actually pleased to announce that we have our first episode request. Or at least the first one we're going to actually be able to do in this short amount of time. We got a request from Sora Donald Goofy 99 here on YouTube, and he wanted us to do our top 10 favorite weapons from the series. And we decided we're going to go ahead and each give our top 5 best weapons from Power Rangers. So we decided beforehand that, like before, we haven't told each other what our choices are.
Mm-hmm.
We're only going to do Power Ranger weapons, so no Sentai weapons in this discussion, just because neither of us is well versed with the previous weapons to make a lot of judgments on them.
And also, we are excluding things that have yet to be adapted, so we're only going up through Megaforce, no Super Megaforce, and then no Go Busters or Kyo Ryuger either.
Yeah, and also no Star Force, even if that's made or not. We'll see about that.
Even though a few of them did bleed into Mighty Morphin Season 2, but they're not on my list.
Yeah, neither are mine. So, sorry for anybody who likes the Season 2 weapons, the very few of them that were introduced. So we're just going to go in the same format here. We're not going to do an honorable mention here because, Raptor, I'll tell you this. I did find it kind of difficult to come up with a list and really kind of rank them because, each season is so different with the magical powers, the technological powers. There's a lot of variety there, and it's really hard to kind of narrow down from this because a lot of the weapons are not personalized weapons.
Yes, I mean, you get several series such as SPD, Lightspeed, to a lesser extent, Lost Galaxy, and Time Force is also guilty of this, where you have the uniform weapons.
Yes, and sometimes uniform weapons can be good, but there's great variety in a lot of teams, and I know at least one of my entries does have that variety there, and I'm curious to see what variety you have on yours. So let's get started. What was your number 5 best Power Ranger weapon?
All right, so a lot of people are going to expect this. That's why I put it so low on the list, and I put the Dragon Dagger.
Okay, I'm guilty of that too. So Dragon Dagger is my number 5. But I think we both put it at number 5 for different reasons. So tell me your reasons first off.
Well, for the most part, it was just to keep it from being another thing that people expected at the top.
Yeah.
But also, I think it's the coolest design weapon of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And, I love the function. I love that it doubles as a flute to summon the Dragon Zord, which was my favorite Zord of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
And the thing is, it's also multifunctional because, again, not only is it a melee weapon, it summons Dragon Zord, but remember, if Tommy plays the flute, it activates his Dragon Shield and creates a magical force field around him.
Yeah, so it's almost like an Ocarina of Time in that way. Use it to cast spells.
Yeah, I guess you can go ahead and look at it. So the Ocarina of Time, 5-6 years before it actually appeared on the N64.
Yeah. So, maybe Nintendo ripped them off.
Now, I will also go ahead and say that I did put it a little bit lower on my list because I'm also thinking about, in the broad term, of what makes a good weapon. Now, daggers are great, but it's a short-range weapon when you think about it.
It's more of a short sword if you think about it.
Yeah, and it can shoot lasers, which I think was only utilized in the Evil Green Ranger saga. But really, again, it's a short-range weapon. One function, you can't even use Dragon Zord is destroyed, or you don't have the shield. So it really kind of limits the weapon once you take all the peripherals away in that regard. So that's kind of why I put it lower on the list. But yeah, I have to agree. It's got all these different functions. It looks great. I have the toy of it, and it's got great detail onto it. And of course, I think if anything America got right, was we made the Dragon Dagger sound 10 times better than it did in Zyuranger.
Speaking of the Dragon Dagger, Has that gotten a 20th anniversary re-release with all the...
Next spring, they will. They're releasing that and the Dragon Zord with shell-accurate stickers.
Nice, nice.
Which...
I'm going to have to keep a lookout for that.
Okay, so, yeah, I think we both kind of agree here, but I do have to ask this question. With the Dragon Dagger, what do you think of the Sword of Darkness that Tommy used? Because he used the Sword of Darkness and the Dragon Dagger when he was evil, and the evil Green Mutant used the Sword of Darkness. I think it would be better if he used both of them. They both.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. I love dual wielding. In fact, using the Sword of Darkness, which is not a long sword, it's about the length of a claymore, and then the Dragon Dagger, which is a short sword, kind of reminds me of Cervantes from Soul Calibur.
See, you know far more about weapons than I do, so.
And it just reminds me of him. And I just love the image of dual wielding, and it's kind of really cool to have different weapons that you're dual wielding because, in my opinion, that makes you look even more awesome. They can use these different weapons, but still use them well.
And that's what he did in his first appearance in Green with Evil. He was dual wielding the Dragon Dagger and Sword of Darkness, and that's what he was battling Jason with in Part 5. And that's like the most epic battle in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, right there.
Yeah. And, and also the Sword of Darkness makes a better match for Jason's sword than the Dragon Dagger would.
Absolutely. And then I think the last thing of note that I will go ahead and say, and I know I probably said that already, but I love how it turns into a lightsaber because it can glow with that energy.
Yes.
It's just cool. The power sword does that too, but any weapon that can glow with energy and become essentially a lightsaber and shoot energy, that's just awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So, since again that was my number 5 as well, we tied. Let's go to your number 4. What do you have for number 4?
All right, my number 4 is the Thunder Staffs, wielded by the Thunder Rangers in Ninja Storm.
Okay, so tell me why you like those.
Okay, well, there have been a lot of multi-purpose, multi-form weapons in Power Rangers. Most of them have had 2 forms. These ones switch back and forth between 3 different forms. Mm-hmm. It could turn into a staff, turn into a throwing weapon, or turn into a shield.
Now, I tell you this because it's collapsible is what it is, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're roped together and you can just take the individual pieces and shape them into something else.
See, that's what I don't kind of like about it because it is collapsible, and I'm just thinking if you're on the battlefield, it's kind of like it's a hard thing. It's like, okay, so it's like folding your windshield visor. Like do you do to left, to right, or folding a map? You have to remember the pattern and get it down right.
But refresh my memory, didn't it transform automatically, or did they have to fold it?
I'm trying to remember myself, but I think with jump cuts and whatnot, it probably... They probably went automatically. It just seems cumbersome.
It might just be part of the power that it switches automatically.
Yeah. And, the throwing part is great. It's a great boomerang-like weapon.
Yeah.
The staff weapon is great. But I don't get the shield because it is a hole. It's
yeah. Maybe again it's the power flowing through it. The power creates a shield.
Oh yeah, I mean that's what it does. But to me, it just always seemed bulky and awkward in my mind. It was just I just wish they give the Thunder Rangers swords. I mean, great props for giving different weapons, but I don't know. I didn't like it. It just wasn't my thing.
Okay, that's fair. But
yeah, but I can see what you say because that's another thing that's on my list is weapons that have multi-purposes. Guns to swords and whatnot.
Yeah, and I like that because it provides variety.
Exactly. I just think that this one is, compared to others that are at least going to be on my list, and I'll explain those, it seems like it's a little bit more of a hassle to transform them, and that just kind of draws me away.
Well, anyway, if that's the case, what's your number 4?
All right, my number 4 is the Quantum Defender from Time Force.
Okay.
Now, believe it or not, other than the Power Rangers, my favorite superhero is Batman.
All right.
2 main reasons I like Batman is 1, he never kills, and 2, he never uses a gun. But what does it say about Eric's character, where he is this violent, angry person, but his weapon is a defensive weapon? Because keep in mind, the Quantum Defender can change to a gun and a sword, but it doesn't kill anybody. It only freezes them. When he attacks his final slash, it freezes them. When he shoots the gun, it doesn't mortally wound them. So to take two offensive weapons like guns and swords and turn them into the ability to, again, non-lethal weapon, I just think is brilliant.
I agree, because, despite the fact that I adore violent movies and violent television shows, I myself am a pacifist.
Yeah, I'm the same way too.
Yeah, I don't believe in violence to solve things. I don't believe in killing. And I like it for that reason, because think about it. The Power Rangers all the time just exterminate a villain. Time Force didn't do that. They put them back in the cars.
No, that was SPD was in the cards, but they froze them in Time Force
once again. Which, the ethics of freezing them.
Just as a side note right here, think about this for a second. The two Power Ranger teams that are set in the future are the only two Power Ranger teams that don't kill the monster.
Don't exterminate the monster.
Think about it. Let that simmer in the back of your mind.
Maybe that's a little bit of Star Trek idealism. Let's see.
That was always my thought. But again, the idea with the Quantum Defender, because it's a gun that changes to a sword, it doesn't kill anybody. You can probably kill with the blade, and if it's point blank shot.
But he doesn't.
But that's which is contrary to almost what Eric is in a way, because his character, you would think that he would be, if this was like an actual movie, if Time Force was an actual movie, he would be killing. I really believe that.
Probably. Yeah.
But because of the format that's in now and the weapon that he has, I think it actually leads into his character a little bit, that he is that good guy at heart. That, and when I say he might kill and all that kind of stuff, like maybe at the beginning, but then he would soften up if this was a movie franchise or like an adult series or something.
Yeah, but if you consider, even in movies, Batman is tricked into killing his villains.
And that might be the case here. But again, just the contradiction of an offensive weapon becoming defensive like that, I really like that. I just think that's really cool.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so we're going up to your number 3 now, right?
Yes.
All right, so what do you got for number 3 on your list?
All right. My number 3 is, okay, so this is a bit of a shallow reason.
Okay.
But my number 3 is the Spiral Saber, weapon of the Red In-Space Ranger.
Or just the Red Space Ranger.
The Red Space Ranger, right.
Okay.
Now, this is because my absolute favorite work of fiction is the anime Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann. I love that anime to death. I have a tattoo of one of the characters from the series. And anyways, the series, for those of you who don't know, centers around a fighting mecha that has drills as its primary weapon.
Okay.
And it's also a red mecha. Gurren is actually roughly Japanese for crimson.
Okay.
And so here Andros is running around with a red drill weapon. So every time I watch that, I just think of Gurren Lagann, which is even funny because like in Gurren Lagann, the Space Rangers are fighting against an extraterrestrial threat that is moving closer to Earth to exterminate it. Gurren Lagann is the reason that I put the Spiral Saber at my number 3. It's shallow reason, sue me.
I would have to go ahead and say that the Spiral Saber is probably the one Power Ranger weapon that deserves most to be in a museum. Because it is the weapon that killed Zordon.
Ooh. You have a good point there, but
I like it too. It's not a traditional sword, so it's not like one of my favorites, but what I like is that it can combine with the Astro Blaster and be a finishing
Spiral Blaster.
Blaster, finishing gun, boom, all by himself. He doesn't even need the other Rangers, because their weapons don't all combine. It's just you got the 4 and the 1. He doesn't need the others.
And, while we're on the topic of the Spiral Saber, why can't I'm going to step over to Kyo Ryuja here for a moment.
Okay.
Why can't Kyo Ryu Pink have a drill weapon as cool as the Spiral Saber?
Because she's a girl.
It's like half the size of the Spiral Saber. It's dumb.
I don't know. They never. I tell you, the only reason I made that comment is because they really don't give girls really good weapons in Power Rangers. There are a few exceptions here and there,
Yeah,
but in
you
general,
got the
they
big
don't.
Samurai Ranger with a fan.
Well, the Blue Ranger from Jungle Fury had a fan, but he had two of them, and the way he used them was a lot more effective.
Yeah.
So, well, yeah, I mean, I think Spiral Saber is good. It's not my favorite space weapon from Power Rangers in space, but I could see how it would work. One thing I never understood is they never actually use the Spiral Saber
as a drill.
Exactly. It's
basically another sword.
And I'm still trying to figure out how that either fits in a space theme or digital world theme, as in Mega Ranger. I don't see how that ever fit in.
Maybe they just thought drills were cool, or maybe in Mega Ranger it was being put in as a tribute to the giant mecha animes, because a lot of giant mecha animes have robots that wield drills.
Mecha Godzilla had one, right?
Mechagodzilla had one, Mogira had one. That's just the Godzilla series. And then before Gurren Lagann came along, we had Gao Gaigar, which was another.
So is a drill kind of like a Japanese traditional robot weapon in a way?
It's on a lot of.
So there's a history to it then.
Yes, it's
okay. Then I could buy that.
Because if you think about it, a drill is a great weapon to use against an armored foe.
Yes, very much so. All right.
Anyways, you're number 3 now.
Okay, number 3. Now, it's from a different series, but it's wielded by the same user. And that is the Brachio Staff from Dino Thunder.
Okay.
I like staff weapons, as you'll see later in my list here. And again, I like multifunctional weapons. And he can use this to do an energy attack, a fire attack, and if I recall correctly, he was also able to use it to summon an earthquake. And he can use it to summon... Does he use that to summon the Brachiozord? Or
yes.
He uses that to summon the Brachiozord. So, it fits in all these different things. You can do all these different attacks. And that's why I like, is he's not limited to just like one special attack. He's got 4 to choose from, which from it's wind, earth, fire, and wave. I don't recall. I know the wave, the fire, the earth, but I don't remember what the wind attack was, even if it was used in Dino Thunder. But I think I remember seeing it in Abra Ranger.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that's the coolest of all the Dino Thunder weapons.
And I would say that I like the Brachio Staff more than I like the Red Ranger's weapon in Dino Thunder.
Yeah, his staff weapon is okay, but it doesn't do all the cool stuff this one does.
Yeah.
It's not even really a staff. It is more like a
lance. It's more not. I wouldn't call it. It's called a lance in the show, but it's more like a halberd or a spear.
Yeah, maybe spear. I don't know, because you know more about weapons than I do.
It's more like a spear, and a spear is not a lance.
But yeah, just the multifunctions, different types of attacks that he can do. You know, he's like an all-purpose Pokemon in a way. He can do fire flame or fire spin, whatever and stuff, and then he can do fission or something. You know.
Interesting, but
well, I thought you would like that since you like Pokemon. So.
I was like the only kind of Pokemon that would make me think of is Mew, which can shoot off any and every kind of attack.
Okay, so it's the Mew of Dino Thunder weapons.
I don't know. I snuck a peek at your list, and I think there's another thing that's closer to Mew. But
all right.
We'll leave a little anticipation there.
You see here, everybody? He snuck a peek at my list. Wow. All right. What is your number 2 favorite weapon from Power Rangers?
Okay, so once again, I'm guilty of favoring a weapon because it reminds me of something else that I like.
And that's all right. This is just our opinion. So.
Yes. I like the Fire Smasher from Power Rangers Samurai.
Okay, you're going to have to explain this one to me, so go ahead.
Yeah, so it's as you'll probably see from the pictures, listeners, it is a huge freaking sword.
It's bigger than the Red Ranger himself, and twice as big as Lauren.
Yes, exactly. It reminds me of one of my favorite fighting games, Soul Calibur, because there is a sword in the game called Soul Edge that is shaped exactly like the Fire Smasher is.
Like same size and everything?
Yeah, and the same shape.
Oh, so is this like a traditional kind of weapon?
No, it's not. It's
Because there's no...
It's like this thing that's made of flesh and bone. It's pretty amazing.
I see. Well, I mean, okay, so my question would be is, I don't get the practical function of it. Now, I saw Shinkanger before I saw Samurai, and they used it to the same effect. It's just that I don't understand what's the point of having a sword that's as big as your body and
It's
probably...
a big freaking sword.
And that thing has...
freaking swords are awesome. Like, look at Cloud from Final Fantasy.
Yeah, I know Final... Yeah, go ahead.
But yeah, look at Cloud. His sword is huge.
Yeah, but that's one reason I don't like is because it's huge. I mean,
and in a way, it's merging the tropes of the hero because, face it, heroes have swords.
You know, one of my favorite scenes from Batman the Animated Series is where Bruce fights Ra's al Ghul, I believe is how you pronounce it in this series, in the desert from the Demon's Quest Part 2. And they're sword fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I took the Fire Smasher and gave it to Batman and won Ra's in that, it would just look stupid. I just can't see that being a weapon that you take seriously in any situation.
Batman the Animated Series attempted to be more realistic than Power Rangers, Final Fantasy, or Soul Calibur attempted.
Or Super Samurai.
Yeah, and I just like it because it merges two tropes. The big guy who has the big weapon, and then the hero, because heroes have swords. Put those two together, and then you have the hero who has just a huge weapon that you can just smash a mofo with.
I tell you this, the one thing I do like about it is I do like it's a canon weapon too. They can transform into that. That's when the discs were actually important in the series, at least for Shinkanger and Power Rangers. But then after a while, they just kind of abandoned that concept, I think. But sword turning into a cannon, I guess there are worse ways you can go ahead and do it. But again, I can't fathom the practicality of a sword that big.
It's not practical. In a real world situation, it wouldn't be the least bit practical. If you're fighting someone with a normal sized sword, they could probably get you before you even got a swing off. But
yeah, but again,
that's fiction, and there is no kill like overkill.
I guess not. I have to agree with that.
But anyways, let's move on to your number 2.
All right, my number 2, from Zeo, the Golden Power Staff, wielded by the Gold Ranger.
I agree with that sentiment, but talk about why.
Okay, first let's look at what it does. First, it can be used as a blunt object using that part at the top. The bottom slides down and becomes a bladed weapon, basically. It shoots lasers. And perhaps the coolest function, it can turn people into giants. So... it's everything, and it houses the power, so it's the weapon. It's like Excalibur way, that the power is in the weapon. It's not a morpher, it's not a coin, it's not a crystal. It is the weapon itself, which can be dangerous if it's destroyed and all that. But I would think this is pretty durable. But I just like all the cool things that this thing can go ahead and do. It's a Swiss Army knife, basically. It's just so much fun.
I agree. It's Zeo's equivalent to the Dragon Dagger. Awesome multi-purpose weapon that sets the 6th Ranger apart from the core 5.
Absolutely. And of course, as we know, the Gold Ranger had different origins in both Zeo and O Ranger. So his weapon is more mystical than the other Power Rangers on those
who
days.
were all...
It was technology-based in both cases. They have a mystical source, but they're using technology to supplement is what they're doing. Mm-hmm. The Gold Ranger, other than Paramyas, is all about the mystical power, which to me is like why he has all this different ability. I don't think the making people into giants thing was used in O Ranger, but man, it made for a great climactic episode, the Zeo.
Yeah, because, don't have time to get the Zords. So, and I just think that's cool because... has that ever been done again in Power Rangers since then?
Not to my knowledge, no.
I mean, because you have the technicalities of seasons when Rangers turn into their Zords.
Yeah, but this was the first time somebody ever said,
there's no time.
Yeah, there's no time to get the Zords. Really? Why? There was no ticking clock in the episode, but... reasons aside, it was just really cool to see that and watch Mondo fall from the Red Ranger and all that.
Yeah, because all those times before in the series during Mighty Morphin, while you were waiting for the mastodon to come down from the Arctic.
Yeah, just
Plenty of time then. Plenty of time.
Yeah, tapping his foot, looking at his watch. When's it getting here?
Oh man, the abandoned warehouse district's really getting trashed right now. Hope it gets here soon.
Okay, so we're now down to our final two right here. Raptor, in your opinion, please tell me what is the best weapon in all of Power Rangers history.
Okay, well, might be cheating here because this belongs to a character that isn't considered a ranger.
Okay.
But the Magna sword / Magna blaster from Power Rangers Lost Galaxy as wielded by the Magna Defender.
All right, and I can think of a couple of reasons why I like that, but specifically, why do you like it?
All right, yeah, it's multi-purpose, as we talked about several times.
Yep.
You know, it's the classic bladed weapon into a gun.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't share the sentiment that Linkara presents of gun blades being bad, but you know, it's cool because, and here's another thing, both modes look just awesome.
Yes.
I would argue that the Magna sword is the coolest looking sword in all of Power Rangers. It's very ornate. Yeah. It's a good size because it's not a huge sword, but it's not a tiny little short sword either. Mm-hmm. It's the perfect sword for the character that wields it.
What I think is interesting is the sword itself technically cannot change into a gun. It's the sheath that's the gun, and he puts the sword in there, which may power it or uses it as the trigger. I'm not exactly sure where the trigger is on it. He cocks it just like a shotgun from the movies and all that. And it's a rapid-fire weapon. It's rapid-fire in the American. I don't think it was ever used that way in the Japanese footage from Ginga Man. But ching-ching, and then...
Yeah, that's a lot cooler than a lot of the blaster weapons that we've had in Power Rangers before that and since then.
Yeah, I will say this. If anything, if I have criticism of Power Ranger guns, is that they're very slow guns as far as one shot to the next.
They're about as useful as Imperial Stormtrooper blasters.
Yeah, which are pretty slow themselves when you go ahead and think about it. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely see where you're coming from on that. I mean, I was really going to put get the Quasar Sabers on mine because of, you know, the mystical weapons. But then again, when you think about this one, even though it's not really a mystical weapon, if anything, I think we could say the Magna Defender is more technology than he is any kind of mysticism.
Yeah.
At least in Lost Galaxy. But for what he was able to do with that, I mean, that's a pretty good compromise. You can't shoot lasers out the sword, but you can turn it into... And
here's one thing that I would say the Magna Sword has over the Quasar Sabers.
Mm-hmm.
It's unique. Then when it comes to the Quasar Sabers, all 5 of the core Rangers have the same thing.
Yes, it is different from the others.
Something I will praise that for, it was a cool difference on the fight scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yes, Power Rangers is at its core about martial arts, but I enjoy seasons where the Rangers have a primary weapon that doesn't involve them using martial arts in a fight. You know, it's something that Lightspeed Rescue did with the blasters, something that Lost Galaxy did with the Quasar Sabers, something that Samurai did with the swords,
mm-hmm.
and something that Gokaiger / Super Megaforce
will do.
Yes. With the Gokai Sabers / whatever they're called. They're probably going to be called like Mega Swords or something.
The Super Mega Force sword blade thing.
I don't know. Who cares?
Yeah. We'll find out eventually on those. Now, I'm going to have to go ahead and say that my number one, I didn't think this was going to be my number one when we came up with the concept that we got in the request. Because I really thought I was going to put like an early Season 1 weapon in there, something that's probably a little bit more powerful and all that. But again, when I think about the things that I like, the types of powers I like and so forth, when I saw it, I was like, I got to put these as number one on my list. And that is the Magi Staffs from Power Rangers Mystic Force.
Okay.
Now, here's the thing. First, they are a staff-like weapon or wands, technically. They can be used as magic wands, as used by the girls. They can magically transform into crossbows, as utilized by the Yellow Ranger. Magically transform into an axe, used by the Green Ranger. And magically transformed into a sword, used by the Red Ranger. And all of them can shoot water, lightning, fire, whatever. They are uniform weapons, which have their own little symbols at the top. They're used as magic staffs. They're used as melee weapons. They're used as blaster weapons. It's everything in one that you would want a weapon. For different situations. You need to fight Korai here, turn to a sword. You need to shoot down one of the minions off of that tower, turn into the crossbow. And you need to cast a magic spell on whatever, there you go.
You see, those weapons, and I agree with all that sentiment. I'm just sitting here slapping myself on the face for not putting that on my list. It's just, they may not look the coolest. There are ranger weapons that look cooler.
Yes, I will agree with that.
But they are by far the most useful.
Exactly.
If I had to fight off monsters and I could only choose one ranger weapon to do it with, I would want a Magi Staff.
Absolutely, because you could do anything and everything with them. Because the thing about Mystic Force and Samurai to an extent is that they do have a lot of magical abilities to do almost anything. Think about Samurai for a second. All you gotta do is write in the sky what you want and you get it.
Yeah.
And then the Mystic Force Rangers, they were able to use their cell phones to conjure a pizza. My goodness, that's like the best superpower ever. But, yeah, I mean...
You see, it's reasons like that that led to my own personal theory that the Mystic Force Rangers would probably be the most powerful team if they all had to fight, but that's a discussion for a different day.
Absolutely. But they do have a lot of useful weapons. They have additional weapons that are stupid, like the boxing glove or the laser lamp
Mystic
and stuff.
muscles!
Yes. But really, if they just had these weapons, I would have been fine with it, because I don't think you need more than that because of what power they wield.
Oh, you do need more, because you need more toys.
Let's not get into that here. Okay, so... that is our list, ladies and gentlemen. I think we're a little bit under time than we normally are, but we decided, we wanted to go to 5 here today because the request was due top 10, but it was really hard to get top 10, and
there was 9 entries in all, so
yeah. I mean, if you want one more, I mean, I think we both were thinking like the original power weapons as maybe our honorable mentions.
Yeah,
or something.
If there was going to be one more that we'd want to add, I wanted to add the Power Blaster / Power Axe is wielded by the Black Mighty Morphin Power Ranger. I think that's the best looking axe of all the axes that have been wielded by Power Rangers. Yeah,
so there you go, Sora, Donald, Goofy, 99. That is the 10 entries right there. They're all different weapons that we have here. We decided not to go ahead and do a worse list on this because I think best is enough, because what's really hard in a lot of these lists that I've realized is that it's easy to get the best, but then in a lot of cases, it's kind of muddled the rest of the way down. It's really hard to say what's bad.
But here's what made this list difficult, and what would make a worst list really difficult, is that they don't have as much story significance as other elements do.
Exactly. I mean, a lot of weapons like the Quasar Sabers are significant to the story, are essential to the plot, but a lot of these weapons, like, they show up once, they never use them again, especially in Season 2. I mean, like, when Tommy entered, I think it was I forget what monster it was, but he had the heat blaster or something like that.
Mighty Morphin's, the second half of Mighty Morphin
the
Season
mirror
1.
Shield. And,
they're just throwing out new things left and
Kimberly's ribbon weapon, which don't even really count as weapons.
Yeah, which Sentai did that?
That was Zoo 2.
No, there was a Sentai that used that.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I think it was Goggle 5?
Yeah, I think so.
Yep.
Maybe it was a nice little tribute.
Probably so. But yeah, I mean, I hope Sora, Donald, Goofy 99 liked our video. And, if anybody else out there has any other requests for videos, please leave them in the comments. We'll get around to them once we get a chance to go ahead and discuss them. But Raptor, you have any final thoughts you want to just say about Power Ranger weapons in general?
I'm hoping that Power Rangers Super Mega Force doesn't take away any of the cool functionality of the Gokai Sabers.
Yeah, I hope that they will go ahead and continue that, and I hope we get, I hope we get more cool weapons down the line. I mean, we're going to see some decent ones in Go Buster. We're going to see some decent ones in Key Ranger, but hopefully once we get down the line, we get more cool weapons that have these multiple functions. I think it's time for another mystical type of season somewhere.
Yeah, it seems to be about that time.
Yeah. All right, so we want to thank you guys for listening. Have yourselves a great evening, and the tavern is now closed.